All righty, guys. Welcome back to the Sleuth Intuition channel. This is True Crime in the Morning. I'm your host, Patrick Vallejos. Today, we dive into the case of missing Daniel Robinson. Now, this one is in my backyard. That's Daniel there. Now, I went ahead and printed out the majority of the police report, but we do have it. It's over 100 pages. Look at all this. So we got a lot to go over. But this has everything. This has his internet searches, everything that happened with his phones, any suspicious people that he was talking to, even a love interest. So it seems to be painting a picture of a troubled man. You know, this has all the telltale signs of a mental health issue. Maybe self-harm, but I'm thinking more of a delusional state. You know, not all self-harm is from depression and bad relationship. Could be delusional. His employees that work with him said he was acting kind of strange that day. So, and the scene where they found his Jeep kind of paints a picture that it's a telltale sign that we've seen so many times. We hear signs of mental health, and then for whatever reason, they undress while they're going through this situation. We've seen it before. Amanda Nenegar, she was found completely naked. Cases of clothes being folded neatly next to a strange crime scene. We covered the Maddox case. Man, they say committed suicide or got stuck in a chimney. But there it was, his clothes right there. So we're going to learn a little bit about that. Let me read the Buckeye Police Department missing person report. So his full name is Daniel Cornelius Robinson, date of birth January 14th, 1997. He's 5'8", 165 pounds, black hair, brown eyes. Daniel would have been 24 years old, black male, who was last seen. Wait, I never noticed this missing part. Oh, never mind. Missing on June 23rd, 2021 at approximately 9:15. Daniel was last seen leaving a job site in the area of Sun Valley Parkway and Cactus Road in Buckeye. I don't know if these images here will give you a good enough idea, but I should have it up on the map here. It is good to see everybody. I want to welcome Aquarian One to the Sleuth Crew. What's up, man? Welcome. Make sure everybody is taking care of you. Thank you, Phony. All right. The best way to contribute, thank you so much for that. I think didn't you already donate? But yeah, the best way to do it so that we can track it would be through the Cash App or through Zelle. And that way YouTube doesn't take 30%. But we'll put that to that for sure. I'll go ahead and add you in there. Appreciate you. This will be the first case that we tackle with that drone. I mean, this is right in my backyard. The circumstances of the evidence tell us that he may be lost out there. So originally he is from Orangeburg, South Carolina, I believe. And he was out here working as a geologist. And he also did deliveries and things like that on the side. But he was staying in Tempe. So Phoenix is a big place. So you can see Tempe here. And this is all considered Phoenix. But he lived in Tempe. You guys can hear Indy barking. He's got a good bark. So he was working here, and his Jeep was found here. So he was working at a well. So I pulled a couple videos for us to kind of get a quick overview. I pulled an article here. They talk about the father hiring a private investigator and his assessment, which honestly I don't agree with, but I'll see what you guys think about it once we go through all the information. Good to see you, Cindy. So once again, thank you, Aquarian, for joining the sleuth crew, and Phony Pin for helping out with the drone. Yep, like I said, this will be the first case that we tackle. An employee that went to check on Daniel, or the folks who found his Jeep, and I'm not exactly sure who it was specifically, but they said the footprints were going west. And if this was just a simple crash, no head injury, no mental health issues, no, without some kind of outside factor, he would have simply got out of his Jeep and walked this direction to the area that he's familiar with, which would be this little area here, which is like 2 miles from his job site. This is how they found his Jeep. And there's his clothes. An employee that he didn't really know, but was working with that day, stated that he was acting kind of strange, and he didn't tie his boots. So he was just kind of like, whatever. Yeah, they need it, Cindy. And his father is working very diligently. He's working hard. He might even have moved out here. Hey, caricature. What's going on, Hiawatha? What's up, Stingy, Sparky? Welcome in, everybody. Mustang, good to see you. Hey, there's Mirror. Good morning, good afternoon. Good morning, Sparky. Hey, Beach Fairy. What's up, Mustang? Good to see you. Yeah, I think this is going to be the first case that we're going to go out and because we can spend multiple days. We'll go out there a few days and we'll knock out a real big chunk of area. Now, they've been out here with helicopters and all kinds of shit. But remember, these folks are often found outside of the search grid. 9 times out of 10. Don't ask me why. And then sometimes they're found like 500 yards away from the scene. So Here's a better view here. Now, this belongs, I believe, to the investigators. You can see one of them kind of hiding behind the tree right here. I think that's their gear, forensic gear. Gloves, bags, whatever. So he would have crashed, kicked his way out of the vehicle, undressed right here, and then for whatever reason walked in the opposite direction of the main road and where, the area that he's familiar with. That's what the vehicle looked like before the accident. This is the well or the job site. And this is an image of, I believe, the investigator that his father, David, I think his name is David, hired this gentleman here. And he's an expert in crash recreation. So he's hired to go ahead and get his hands on the black box data. Basically tells you everything that happened with the vehicle before it crashed, during its crash, and then after. So they know that it was in drive. They know everything. Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have a whole lot of time. I have 2 interviews with his dad, Beach Fairy. Thank you so much. This is definitely going to be a part 2 and probably a part 3 since we're going to be all over this case. Just kind of being what we've been specializing in here over the last year with True Crime in the Morning, mental health, unsolved mysteries, people vanishing without a trace, where you can't tell if there was foul play. I mean, you really just don't know. All we know is people don't just go missing. What's up, blind squirrel? Here are some of the messages he left. Or no, these are his internet searches. He went missing on the 23rd. These are the searches between the 16th and the 23rd. Should I call her? Can you break lease before it renews? Love changed me. Love is patience. Covet. 10 commandments. Thou shalt not covet. Delete Instagram account. Shooting Tempe. Love is something you can't explain. Explosion. I'm okay to do things I hate. That doesn't seem like good advice. I'm okay to do things I hate. So he's obviously this is giving me bipolar. Like not bipolar like your ex-girlfriend bipolar, but like for real, like a medical emergency. Hot and cold, hot and cold, hot and cold. Maybe even a little bit of delusion. Some delusional thoughts. Not comfortable to share. He's not really from this area. He's out here on his adventure and with his adult shoes on and taking the world by the horns. And then boom, here comes this mental health issue. All that pressure can be overwhelming, especially if you're not really talking about it. Sometimes it'll break down those walls in your mind and you lose it. Not to mention you could be dealing with anything like a lack of something, high blood sugar, dehydration. There could be something else too contributing to it. Sparky Drone Fund for reals. Yeah, we're well on our way, you guys. We're at 25%. Over 25% because we got another $5 donation from Hot Sauce, and that's his second donation. So we'll get there. We will get there. All right, because of time, let's go ahead and get into some of these videos that I pulled for you guys. Now, I tried to pull some right after the incident, first year mark, second year mark, interviews with the father, and then one from the third year mark. And then they also found skeletal remains out there that did not belong to Daniel. So that was a key moment, I think, in the case where the hope was elevated only to be let down. But if you read the police report, and we're going to read most of it. It's going to get really tedious, and I'm sure you guys will check out at that point. But law enforcement is very specific, and you have these investigators that come in, and they're a lot like us, right? We have the room to kind of speculate, that wiggle room. Investigators don't have that. Everything is factual. So, even though the investigators, they like to spin things, to try to build that morale and to kind of rally the troops or whatever. A little energy boost. But law enforcement, they can't do that. They know that once they get those facts and the information that they can use in a courtroom, then they get excited. That's when you get detectives and investigators from law enforcement excited, when they have something tangible. Thank you, Beach Fairy. Yep. Shout out to my mods. You guys are doing a great job. Yep. We're going to start close to home. And we also have a trip planned for, well, actually, it's for Chicago, but we're going to try to stop by Delphi, Flora, and then Wabash to cover Delphi, Flora, and Jordan Sofer's case. So we'll have this drone there too. And we'll be live, guys. Remember, this is the Sleuth Crew drone. This isn't Patrick's vacation drone. This is for the channel. This is for us. This is for us to go out and put our money where our mouth is. Talk is cheap, right? We need to get out there, boots on the ground. All right, let's see. Which one should I play first? I kind of want to play this Dateline one, but I feel like they might try to hit us. Yeah, this is a good one. Here, we'll stop and go on this one. This one has a lot of good information.
Dawn in the desert, a clear and chilly November morning. We are near the city of Buckeye, Arizona, where a caravan of cars is arriving, carrying volunteers.
That, you guys, is the Arizona desert. That goes on for miles surrounding Phoenix all the way to Tucson. You have to travel like probably 60 miles north to hit Pines.
For the next several
Very unforgiving
hours, they will comb this unforgiving landscape, looking for a young man who's been missing since June of 2021.
See, the drone footage that they have isn't even as good as what we're going to be able to accomplish. Like, this is crap right here. You can't see anything down there.
His name, Daniel Robinson. And leading the search, not law enforcement, but Daniel's father, David.
Where is everybody located?
So David drove, I believe, all the way from Orangeburg, South Carolina, about 2 days after his son went missing. Law enforcement really wasn't moving quick enough or doing things that needed to be done. And a lot of times that's what you got to do as a parent. You got to get out there. It's not that you're taking anything away from law enforcement. It's just that that's their job. You know, they have a shift and they don't get to say, hey, well, I'm going to hang out after my shift. No, your shift is over. You go home to your family and the next group will take over where you left off. You know, they're not just going to be out there tirelessly day and night searching every crevice under every tree. but a father and volunteers can help do that kind of stuff.
9 painful months. Robinson and his team of volunteers, people he now calls family,
This is my family.
have been desperately trying to find any trace of his son.
He's a very bright, intelligent geologist. Anything that Daniel wanted to do, he would do it. He's born without a right hand, but he found ways to master anything that he wanted to do. You know, he's a geologist. Of course, Arizona is the ideal place.
In June 2021, Daniel had just begun a job doing field work at a desert well site.
Yeah, Sparky.
He'd always kept in close touch with his family back home in South Carolina. But around this time, Daniel suddenly stopped calling.
I tried to call his phone constantly. He wasn't answering.
In fact,
In these documents that we have here, guys, we have all of his phone records. We have his internet searches. We have basically all of his activity for all of the month prior to him going missing. And we're going to get into all of that.
the whole family tried calling Daniel. Nothing. His sister in Arizona checked his apartment. No one there.
I was worried. I didn't want to panic because I didn't want my children to panic. So that's when I decided to call the Buckeye Police Department.
The Buckeye PD is a small one with barely more than 100 officers. Nevertheless, they began investigating by first checking the area where Daniel was reportedly working. Nothing turned up. 2 days later, David Robinson, desperate for answers, felt he had to take matters into his own hands.
I just grabbed everything I had, threw it in my vehicle, and just started driving. And I made it here. I came straight through. Left South Carolina, came straight to Arizona.
Yeah, South Carolina.
Some 45 hours later, David arrived in this daunting desert, exhausted, but in a panic. His son was out here somewhere, all alone.
I don't know,
facing
Hiawatha.
3-digit heat, rattlesnakes, and not a soul or building in sight. So on his own, David started searching and soon made his way to the well site where his son was last seen.
This is where it all began.
Let's go to Hiawatha. Do you think someone slipped him something, hence his erratic actions? I'm not sure. I am not sure. He was in communication with some of his friends from back home because they would check in constantly. Just, how you doing? What's up? They would ask Daniel for advice on things I'm just calling you for some advice. But right around the time of his disappearance, he was acting weird. He wasn't giving them, helpful answers. He didn't want to talk. People would ask him to go to lunch. He'd be like, "No, I'm not interested." And then finally, when he would go, he wouldn't order what he normally would order. He would say things like, whatever you're getting, just get 2 of those. So he was acting strange. I mean, he didn't even tie his shoes that morning.
This is where the whole narrative started. My son drove off into the desert and vanished, maybe from here.
David then met with a witness, a co-worker of his son's, who said he saw Daniel
I don't
at
know,
the well
Sparky.
the day he disappeared.
That's got to be Sparky's asking. I guess there was some damage. Why do people get naked in the desert? I don't know why. Maybe he wanted to be free. He's like, I'm just gonna walk, and I don't know. That's why I think there might have been some delusions going on. Maybe some voices in his head or something. That it does happen. The Gousset case. Another case that I want to follow up on out of California. She woke up that morning. She had a bad reaction after smoking pot at a party. Couldn't really get any sleep. Woke up in the morning. Took off out the door, waving a bunch of papers and kind of talking incoherently. And she went straight out into the desert and vanished. And there's been a lot of situations like that where they do find these folks that went missing, and they're way up in the mountains. Treese Richardson is a good example. So in the police report, that's what I see. I see a mental health situation, and maybe getting hit with some bipolar stuff. I'm happy, depressed, happy, depressed. Then eventually it just stays at the bottom.
He did tell me that my son seemed like he was looking off into space somewhere, looking out into the desert terrain, kind of staring off, and was acting really quiet. And then he told me my son just kind of waved off to him, got in this vehicle, and drove off.
Where he went and what exactly happened next, no one seems to know. Soon after that meeting, David began recruiting volunteers to help him search the sprawling Sonoran Desert. Every Saturday for the next few
Bloodhounds.
weeks, they scoured this barren, treacherous landscape.
Yeah, he's not going to be on those roads.
Found Daniel. Then in July 2021, a break, a big one. A local rancher found Daniel's Jeep rolled over in a remote ravine.
When I first saw that crash site, I was really devastated. This place I had to go to and see for myself.
The airbags had deployed. The sunroof looked as if it had been kicked open, perhaps used as an escape route. And this was odd. Outside the Jeep were what appeared to be Daniel's clothes and work boots, his wallet still in his blue jeans. Inside the vehicle was his college ID, laptop, keys, cell phone, and plenty of bottled water. To help make sense of this mystery, David hired private investigator Jeff McGrath, an expert at reconstructing accidents. He has a theory of what might have happened.
There was nothing along this route that the vehicle took into that bottom ravine that matched the damage. It's telling me the vehicle was probably crashed somewhere else.
Okay. So I think we should pull this up just to kind of help give you an idea where he's at. Okay, now for whatever reason, he was sitting around with a couple of employees here at the job site. I think this might be where the well is. I'm not exactly sure. That might be it right there. Not quite sure. Somewhere in this area. Well, he just left. He got in his Jeep and he left. So I'm thinking I think he might have went back this way. What do you guys think? Because you can follow this wash. There's like a little road right here. And this wash will lead you all the way to where his Jeep was found. There's tire tracks all through there. Now, my only question is if he's down this wash, why did he turn back? Here it almost appears as if he was coming back towards because he did have some time to kill. Apparently, his boss called him or somebody called him and said, hey, we're going to be a little bit late or things might not go as planned. So I don't want you just kind of sitting around twiddling your thumbs. So he may have been like, okay, well, I'm going to go out. I'm going to take the Jeep out and go for a little ride in the wash. Because here it appears he got off the wash. At the very moment it looks like the wash is kind of turning away from his job site. It seems as if he turned off right here. He's like, oh, well, I better go back this way. That goes against him just kind of going into the middle of nowhere. Why is he coming back? So at the very moment that the trail is leading him further and further away, he says, nope, I'm coming back in this direction. Now, if you're not paying attention, it kind of looks like the road connects right here. So if you're hauling ass, I think he was going, according to the black box in his Jeep, he was going 30 miles an hour. So if you were coming up this hill, doing about 30, you may not see this ravine right here. It almost looks like the road just keeps going. So at the last minute, you're like, "Oh shit!" You try to swerve off. You didn't really see this ravine right here.
Either moved here or it was continued to be driven, and this was its final stop. Whether somebody stole it in joyriding, whether Daniel was in
Try
it,
to.
but it tells me something happened somewhere else.
The Jeep has since been moved to a secured location for further analysis, but plenty of evidence still remains of the crash.
I don't believe it was enough to kill. No, the airbags had enough
What's up,
force
Brett?
to do some damage. They strike you in the face, and they come out with a lot of force, and it could cause a concussion. But there wasn't enough. There wasn't enough violence here in this crash to cause a lethal.
That suggests Daniel survived and was perhaps disoriented and maybe wandered aimlessly into the desert.
So you don't need mental health issues when you have a head or a concussion or maybe even temporary amnesia. Temporary amnesia is a real thing. You know, people get a head injury and they don't really. They might know who they are, maybe who their parents are, and things like that. But with temporary amnesia, you might forget where you work, where you are, why you're there, and then you just start to wander off. And then when it wears off in an hour or two, or who knows when, maybe half a day, you're already dehydrated and dying from the elements.
Could this be other than accidental? Could foul play be involved in Daniel's disappearance? It's something McGrath and David have not ruled out. It's something police have examined too. To this point, there is no evidence of that. None at all. Whatever happened back in June of 2021 has David Robinson now bracing for the worst.
It's hard to say you're searching for your son, walking around the desert with no clothing, no shoes. So I had to mentally put it in my head that I'm doing a recovery. So I need to go.
Yeah, remember, it was over 100 degrees out there. I mean, there's just no way to survive out there. You got to know what you're doing. You got to know how to find water. You got to know to stay in the shade. Like, you just cannot walk during the daytime for hours on end through the desert. You have to wait till the sun goes down and move in the night. That's the only way you can do it, or you'll die.
Find every spot I can out here to rescue my son. He may be hurt, injured, somewhere stuck, whatever. I need to find my son. Yeah, I found something up here interesting.
David is hoping to get more attention, help, and resources from the Buckeye PD, which says this is still an ongoing investigation, although so far not a criminal one.
Okay, so we're still working this side.
He's also tried to enlist federal help. In the fall of 2021,
They're appealing to the
Buckeye PD
FBI.
briefed the FBI and asked for their assistance.
Okay, so I wanted to use that video to kind of give you an idea of what was going on early on in the case, what kind of terrain they're dealing with. Introduce David, Daniel's father. Let's keep it moving here.
Ken Elliott, I was told that he followed the tracks of my son's vehicle and noticed that it went west. And west is it leads out to the remote area of the desert. And he said that's where the tracks pretty much end. This is going towards the desert there.
It was on a dirt road.
That's a little debate about that. I think it was told 4 miles away from the work site, but I want to imagine about 2.5, my opinion, but I haven't literally measured it. But it's not too far. It was within the same area that my son went missing.
And was the vehicle damaged?
It was heavily damaged.
Hey, V.
It was found in a 20-foot ravine, lying on the side. had the windshield was kind of smashed in, 2 points. And all my son's belongings was, as is his clothes and, all the things they wore on his body was on the ground about 3 feet away from the vehicle. Right.
The clothes he was
Mustang says it could be heat related. Yeah, it could. I mean, he was out there all morning, so he could have been dehydrated. There was some talk in the police report of him kind of being upset, staying up all night, playing video games. When they went back to his house, they found blunts. They didn't talk about any alcohol, which would contribute to dehydration quite a bit. But I don't know if he was drinking or not. So if he's up all night, possibly drinking, it looked like he rushed to work too. His shoes weren't even tied. He was just kind of out of it. So I don't know if him maybe being upset, being out of it is what caused him to go out there, maybe to blow off some steam. And it wasn't a mental health issue, but the fact that he was out there maybe driving aggressively and trying to blow off some of that steam caused this accident. And then once he was in the accident, he had a head injury. I mean, look at that vehicle. It looks like it flipped over. Not quite sure. It looks like it kind of flipped, landed on its front, and then rolled over. Yeah, and it definitely hit something right here. So if it hit something like a big rock or a boulder, I mean, I don't know if that could have flipped it up forward or not. 30 miles an hour doesn't seem fast enough to do something like that. Also, Daniel could have gotten out of the car and been pissed off, right? Like, shit, and kicked the windshield. I mean, we really don't know.
One of my investigators and I were out here looking just around the desert for anything that would lead us to Daniel, and I saw this pallet over here that looked fairly new. It was brand new, as a matter of fact. Didn't have any water damage to it. So I was curious about this pallet, and as I parked here, we saw something in that creosote bush right there, and I came over to look at it, and right here at the bottom was a faded, sun faded. It was originally a black Nike sock, athletic sock, and it's obviously had been here a couple months because the sun faded up the top side.
See, the only problem I have is they don't really tell us what direction they were walking when they found this, because that means obviously that he left the scene of the accident, had one sock on possibly, and that's it, and then took it off here. So this would kind of tell us which direction he went, and they don't really give us any details about that.
But once we collected it and I compared it to the clothes that the Buckeye Police recovered, it was one of Daniel's matching socks. And this is what was recovered.
Yeah, beach fair.
Yeah. So there's his boots. T-shirt was dark. There's the T-shirt.
Was that the Joker?
His jeans were found inside out, just like this.
Yeah, that's a strange choice of shirt, right? The Joker.
His orange work vest was laid out there to the side. So anything above would have seen the orange vest, reflective vest off to the side. Okay, the first thing I noticed was the picture that
Mr. Robinson showed me, where the vehicle was laying on its other side. And I saw this damage here as you look down with this mirror folded in. That's what I was saying. It didn't look right. It didn't match being tipped on the other side. And I saw this windshield from these pictures. And this is from some blunt force coming inwards to it, like someone threw a rock or something to that. I don't know. But something hit this here, which.
Yeah, and I think if he was suffering from any issues, he could have done that. You know, he could have been pissed off, got out of the vehicle, threw a rock at it, maybe kicked it, whatever.
Which broke this and spiderwebbed this out. This window glass is the only glass that's completely broken out on this entire vehicle. And this is the opposite side that it tipped on. There's panels in the roof. They're solid panels. There's no glass in the roof of this thing. So it's just there's release hatches inside, and you pull the release and then you pop the panels out, and that makes it almost like, I guess, a convertible. So this damage didn't look right to me. As we move around, this here, if you look low, this is probably the force that blew the airbags. Something, and it's only going to be about this tall. So it could be a boulder in the desert, but somebody ran into that with no braking at 30 miles an hour. Probably the vehicle probably jumped over it, went crazy, but all the airbags blew, and they kept going.
Well, see, this is where law enforcement disagrees with him. He says they kept going because the black box information tells him that the airbags were deployed and that the vehicle went another 11 miles. But in the police report, it says the vehicle flipped over and was left in drive and could have documented it as another 11 miles because the tires were spinning.
Coming along this ridge, Daniel's vehicle would have entered this way at about a 45-degree angle down this ravine. It's still on its wheels, and you can see some of the tire patterns still in there as it's digging into the ground. So as he's coming this way.
Beach Fairy says, though he was raised religious, dad has strong faith, so doesn't necessarily mean delusion, but possible religious delusion common with bipolar. Yeah, I mean, that's another, with Chelsea Grimm, that's one thing she was doing. She was carrying her Bible around, and a lot of weird stuff was going on. My Tree, same thing with her. She was quoting the Bible, and apparently she was on a mission to kill or confront Michael Jackson's manager, who was some high-ranking person in the Illuminati or something like that.
And you can see the creosote bushes are still pushed over where his vehicle has passed through.
V, good to see you. No, it's like it'll be flat, and then out of nowhere you have a ravine. So I can totally see how he could have hit that. Or not see it, at least.
Right now on 12 News, it's been almost 2 years since geologist Daniel Robinson was last seen in the Arizona desert. Now, police are releasing new details in the case and more than 100 pages of reports in the investigation. Thanks for joining us. I'm Mark Curtis.
And I'm Kariba Devine. Team 12's Jonathan McCall spoke with Robinson's father and has his reaction.
Tonight, a new report is...
Beach Fairy says temp was in the low 90s. Well, it's around the same time of year now. There's no way it was in the low 90s. There's just no way. I mean, it's possible, but it may have been in the low 90s at one point in that day, but it's definitely getting close to triple digits.
Providing more details into the June 2021 disappearance of geologist Daniel Robinson.
Family member who's going through pain for almost 2 years now, searching for my son. It's not easy.
Robinson last...
V says, does it get below freezing at night? Some places it does, but not in the summertime. It'll get chilly, but yeah, you'll be fine. Now in the winter, it's it gets pretty cold at night. That's the tell of the desert. Hot during the day, freezing at night. But in the summertime here in Phoenix, it's so hot that it'll be like 75, 80 degrees in the middle of the night.
Seen driving away from a work site in the desert near Buckeye. A month later, a rancher would find his Jeep in a ravine, crashed with the airbags deployed. Daniel nowhere to be found, but his personal items still inside.
I'm still housing forensics.
Inside.
I'm still housing forensics that should be taken care of.
The 128-page report released by Buckeye Police provides details not previously shared in the case, including Tempe Police helping to process Daniel's electronic devices, the FBI being briefed for a second time about the case, the agency offering help but not an investigation. Plus, Daniel's cell phone pinging at the crash site at 10 o'clock the morning that he was last seen, despite his car being found a month later.
You put a cell phone there, but you can't put my son there. And that's the question that we have and from my investigative standpoint.
That's a good point, Beach Ferry. The coworkers do mention in the police report during their interviews that there was some rain.
David Robinson, Daniel's dad, is conducting
What's up,
his
D?
own independent investigation and says he knew nothing about the release of the report until 12 News shared it with him. In it, investigators reveal using cameras to search a 970-foot well in January of this year. Human remains found in the area that were not Daniel's, and even possible sightings of Daniel. David Robinson says he's been in contact with the Maricopa County Sheriff's.
Okay, now the sightings that are mentioned in the police report, and this is the one thing I hate about media and how they do this. Law enforcement followed up on the possible sightings. They went and checked a local gas station. They followed up on a tip. And somebody there said, "Oh, yeah, I seen him working at the gas station down the street." Well, they went and checked. The guy didn't look like him, but he was missing his arm. But it was the wrong arm. It was the opposite side. So it took them like 5 seconds to dismiss that. So even though that the media is going to put that out to the public so that you think he's kind of wandering around somewhere and that he's living some kind of secondary life or whatever lifestyle, no, they debunk that quickly.
Office about possibly receiving even more help in the case.
There's clothing that was found at the scene that my family and I do not recognize. We're asking the Maricopa County to test those clothing to verify that they belong to my son.
June 23rd will mark the 2-year anniversary since Daniel Robinson's disappearance. Buckeye Police say that the case.
Let's go to Sparky's comment. That is a good point, Sparky. Why didn't he take his phone? So either he didn't want it, he planned to leave it anyway, and he's just going to walk and wander until he can't walk no more, or he suffered a head injury, really wasn't thinking clearly. But the investigator seems to think that there's foul play involved.
Big story tonight, a gruesome discovery in the far West Valley as a woman out on a desert trail finds a human skull and other remains in Buckeye. This happened yesterday afternoon near Southern Avenue and Johnson Road. And while the county works to identify the remains, many wonder, could this be local geologist Daniel Robinson, who was last seen in 2021? Team 12's Chase Golightly spoke with Daniel.
Yeah, you guys want to hear something scary? They found 2 human remains while searching for Daniel, and none of them belong to him.
Daniel's father about this possibility.
David Robinson has never given up on the search for his 25-year-old son, but this potential development is a situation he's been in before. And we do want to warn our viewers, the photos you're about to see may be disturbing. Out in the middle of nowhere, a sight no one would want to find.
It was absolutely freaky.
A human skull.
Look at that. It's a skull and a spinal column. Now, in the police report, they say right away, like, this has been out there way too long for us to even consider that it is Daniel. But here on the media, they want to embellish on it.
Tucked away on the side of this dirt trail in Buckeye, discovered by Penny Buffington.
It was not a pleasant sight.
Buffington was out
It's
in
terrifying.
this remote area of Buckeye, ATVing with her family. She tells us at first she didn't recognize what she was looking at until she got closer.
That's a skull. That's a human skull.
She then noticed other remains close by, along with clothes scattered on the trail. Buffington
Animals.
trying to connect the dots on who they could belong to.
One of the first thoughts was, is it Daniel?
She's talking about 25-year-old Daniel Robinson, a geologist working in Buckeye. He was last seen on June 23rd, 2021. His car found days later abandoned in a ravine with no sign of Robinson. It led to massive search efforts all over the area. Buffington says she's a frequent volunteer. So when she saw this, her first call was to 911 and then Robinson's father.
Really hurtful and scary. It always takes me for a shock every time.
But this is all too familiar now for David Robinson.
We found human remains, human skull, and some other remains in the past.
It's happened twice, and both times the DNA did not match Daniel's, which did bring him a sense of relief.
With my faith, I just really want to believe and feel that my son is still alive.
Where Daniel was last seen is 12 miles away from where the new remains were found. Still, there is that possibility.
So that's still concerning to me.
Now Robinson and Buffington are waiting for the remains to be identified while the search for Daniel continues.
And I'm not quite sure. I couldn't find any information on the human remains and who they belong to. What's going on, Don Spain? Welcome in. No, that's a good point, Silas. I don't know why an animal would take a sock. Maybe because it smelled like a person. I'm not sure. Good to see you, Kristen. He's been missing since June 24th of 2021. All right. I was going to save the second hour for this police report. Let's put these up back on the screen. Okay, now let's dive into this. So after talking to his coworkers, this would be Kevin, last name redacted, says it was unlike Daniel as he had never done something like this before while working for the company. Kevin said Daniel did not show up to work today. And this would have been the 24th, the day after he went missing, even though his shift started earlier today. I asked Kevin if he could send me the coordinates to the job site location where Kenneth and Daniel were at. So Daniel was with a coworker by the name of Kenneth. So I then provided Kevin with my contact information. I informed Kevin I would contact him back with the outcome of my investigation. I told Kevin to call police if Daniel contacted him or if Daniel's whereabouts were known. Kevin said he would. A short time after ending my contact with Kevin, I received an image from Kevin on my work email. Upon review of the image, it was an image of a screenshot from a cell phone showing the Google Maps application. The image of the map was in satellite view, and it showed the area of Sun Valley Parkway and Cactus Road. Notes of where the job site was located. So there's the main road, job site, and where they found Daniel's Jeep. After speaking to Kevin, I contacted Kenneth by phone. Kenneth answered the phone when I called. I informed him of who I was and that I was conducting a follow-up to Daniel being a missing person. I asked Kenneth if he had heard from Daniel since he was missing or if he knew Daniel's whereabouts. Kenneth said he didn't know where he was and has not heard from him. I asked Kenneth if he could re-explain to me what happened the day Daniel went missing. Kenneth said he works for another company that works along with his company. Kenneth said the day of the incident, June 23rd, 2021, was the first time he met Daniel. Kenneth said they drove out to the job site, he in his vehicle and Daniel in his Jeep. Kenneth explained to me over the phone the location of how they got into the location. This matched the image as seen on Google Maps as described above. Kenneth said they got to the job site at approximately 9:30. That'd be in the morning. Kenneth, when they got to the job site, at times he noticed Daniel appeared to stare off into the distance or would just be staring at nothing in particular. Kenneth said Daniel would talk to him at times, but it was regarding topics that were not related to work they were there to do. Kenneth said this was odd to him. According to Kenneth, he recalls Daniel asking him, "Do you want to go home? Do you want to go back to Phoenix?" Kenneth said at that time it appeared it was going to rain. Kenneth said he told Daniel he would check the weather application on his cell phone. Kenneth stated as he began to look at the weather application on his cell phone at about 9:45 hours, he saw Daniel wave to him as if he was waving goodbye. Kenneth said Daniel didn't say anything, walked over to his Jeep, and drove away from the area. Kenneth said Daniel was last seen driving south on the dirt road from the job site. Okay, so this is south. So that means he went this way. How did he get onto the wash? That looks like a fence, maybe. Oh, I guess right here he could have accessed this area and then went in this direction. Yeah, because the way they make it seem is it's like he went this way, like he was driving in this direction. Kenneth explained that if Daniel continued south down the dirt road, he would have come to a spot where the road splits to the west and to the east. I didn't see that. Not quite sure what they mean by that. He said after Daniel didn't come back to the area, he went looking for Daniel. Kenneth said at the split in the roadway, He saw some fresh tire tracks that went west. Now, where the hell is the split in the roadway? Okay, now this one goes east. He must be talking about this right here. That's not much of a split. Yeah, that's true, Beach Fairy. They need to consider that they may be in denial. David doesn't seem to be in denial. I think he expects that his son is no longer living. He just wants to bring him home. Okay, so I think he's talking about this road. But this isn't south, this is east. But I feel like he might be talking about this area right here. So instead of him going this way like he was leaving the job site, he's making it sound as if he went this way into the desert. But that would be north, not west. This would be west, going in this direction. So I don't know. I'm lost on that part. Kenneth said it had rained while they were out there, so he believed the rain washed away all the tire tracks, and the new tracks was from Daniel's vehicle. Kenneth said at one point he went to a part of the high ground to scan the area for Daniel, but ultimately couldn't find him. Yeah, I guess if there's foul play, I mean, this is your guy. Kenneth would be the only person that had an opportunity, but what would be a motive, to hurt him? Kenneth told me at some point after Daniel left the job site, contacted his boss, Steve, informing him of what was going on. Kenneth stated he later received word from Steve and other employees that Daniel did not contact anyone in the company since he left the job site and that no one knew where he was. Kenneth ultimately reported no behavior or statements from Daniel that suggested he was hallucinating, that he was incoherent and or having some kind of mental health issue. Additionally, Kenneth advised Daniel did not make any direct or indirect suicidal statements or actions. Before ending my contact with Kenneth, I informed him he needs to report to police any information he obtains regarding Daniel's whereabouts. Okay. So now apparently he was upset. Somebody mentioned, or during their investigation, the name Caitlin came up. So this is their investigation into a person by the name of Caitlin, who some suggest, and the investigator suggested, Daniel might have been depressed over being rejected by Caitlin. This is kind of where the plot thickens. After speaking to Kenneth, I checked the name Caitlin through the NCIC and the MVD and Buckeye PD records. Record in the Buckeye PD system, yada yada. Furthermore, Caitlin's address listed in the database showed in Ravine, Arizona. Believing this to be the subject, redacted, had Phoenix PD respond to Caitlin's address to attempt contact with her. Phoenix PD Officer Sanchez, number 8162, called me back a short time later and advised me he was able to make contact with Caitlin at her home. Officer Sanchez advised me that Caitlin was not with Daniel and did not know Daniel's whereabouts. Officer Sanchez provided me with Caitlin's number and said that Caitlin was available for contact if needed. After speaking to Officer Sanchez, I called Caitlin and she answered the phone. I informed Caitlin of who I was and advised her of the situation regarding Daniel going missing. I informed Caitlin that she was not in trouble and that neither was Daniel. I told Caitlin I was only calling to ask her some questions to see how she knew Daniel and if she knew any information that could assist in locating him. Caitlin said she understood and was willing to talk to me about the situation. Caitlin advised she did not know where Daniel was located and that she had last heard from Daniel via a text message on June 22nd, 2021. Caitlin explained that she and Daniel are not in a relationship and that she has only known him since June 12th. So just a couple weeks before this happened is when she met him. According to Caitlin, on that said day, her and her female friend were at her home, Caitlin's home, and that they ordered food through a service called Instacart. Caitlin explained Instacart was a food ordering service similar to Grubhub and Uber, and was aware that these food services allow a customer or user to order food from a selection of places, and upon ordering the food, the employee working for the food delivery service will pick up the food and will deliver it to any location the customer specifies. Caitlin said Daniel was the person who delivered their food that night. Caitlin said that Daniel was very nice, and she and her female friend asked Daniel if he wanted to hang out with them at that time. Caitlin said she and her female friend were drunk, and that looking back on it, she shouldn't have invited a stranger into her home. Caitlin said she believed Daniel was harmless, though, as she had only one arm and was short in height. Caitlin advised Daniel and her exchanged phone numbers that night and sent him a podcast that he should listen to. Caitlin advised nothing else happened that night, which was odd, abnormal, and or criminal. Caitlin said that night Daniel had a canopy which he had in his vehicle, which he left at her home accidentally. Caitlin advised that a few days after that night, June 12, 2021, Daniel sent her a text message that he had accidentally left the canopy and asked her when it was okay for him to come get it. Caitlin said she sent a text message back to Daniel saying he could come by anytime to get it. Caitlin advised Daniel sent her another text message saying he could come by right then or tomorrow afternoon. She said he then sent her a text message asking for directions to her home. Caitlin said she never responded back to Daniel as she was out of town at the time. She said while she was out of town, she observed Daniel on her home security camera go up to the door, attempting to make contact, then leaving the area. Caitlin said she felt that Daniel should have asked for permission to come over to her home before just showing up there. Caitlin told me she also never provided Daniel with her address or directions to her home. So she said either he used the Instacart food order information to obtain her address or remembered how to get to her home. Caitlin said on June 16th, 2021, she sent Daniel a text message advising that she had seen him on her security camera, but that she wasn't home. Caitlin said she told Daniel when she came back to town, she will make arrangements for him to get the canopy. Caitlin said Daniel then began to become very creepy, sending her a text message of a heart emoji and sending her a text message saying that he loves her. Caitlin said one day after this message, he sent her a text message that he was outside of her home. Caitlin said that this made her very concerned. According to Caitlin, she was unsure why Daniel would fall in love with her or be in love with her because according to Caitlin, she never did or said anything that would make Daniel think she wanted that kind of a relationship. Caitlin said that made her more worried was Daniel coming over to her home unannounced, even after being told not to. Caitlin said she sent Daniel a message telling him she did not feel comfortable about him coming to her home unannounced and to ultimately stop talking to her. Caitlin said sent Daniel her last contact from Daniel was a text message from him on 6/22/2021 around 1500 hours. So where she said she wouldn't see him anymore. Caitlin said she has since not heard from Daniel. Caitlin said she will screenshot the text messages and will send them to me. I asked her to upload the screenshots into evidence via Axon Citizen Capture link, which I sent her. I informed Caitlin about the injunction against harassment process and the AZ Point website. I informed her that she should make a report with Phoenix PD, but that I would document that she told me in my report. All right, we'll take a break there and we'll catch up on the chat. So it seems like he was acting a little bit weird a few weeks prior. I don't know, maybe he was getting stressed out, having trouble meeting people, maybe getting frustrated about his hand. I'm not quite sure why people do things. I had a really good friend take his own life, and I mean, I was just with him the day before, and we planned to go golfing the next day, and that night he got in an argument with his girlfriend and hung himself. And he seemed totally fine. I mean, we were talking about music. You just don't know why these things happen. People inside their mind, it's as if they're feeling the walls closing in. Everything on the outside is fine, but inside their own mind, there's some kind of pressure that apparently they just cannot bear it. Thank you, View. Yeah, if you guys want to be part of that fundraiser for the search drone, you guys can hit the Zelle at sleuthintuition@gmail.com. And you might need my name, Patrick Vallejos, if they ask. You can always go to sleuthintuition.com. All my information is there. Or you can just hit the Cash App, whatever. We're at about 25% right now. And we've been going for 3 days now. Pretty good, I think. Carrie says, interesting that they found several other bodies while looking for him. A serial killer? Honestly, I doubt it. I mean, the desert is just so unforgiving. I mean, I'm sure there's people all over that place. Yep, exactly. Without foul play. With and without. They did dig up a whale. They got word that people were dumping bodies down this well. They found vehicles. They found, I think it was like 13 bodies. All unrelated cases. So that's Phoenix, guys. You want to talk about Indiana and places like that being scary? Why don't you come hang out around here for a little while? You'll be happy to go back. Yeah, it was upside down. I can fix it for you. Whoop. There, that's north. So he says he left going south. And if you keep going south, you hit a fork in the road where you can go east or west. So I'm thinking maybe right here. And he must have kept going. I think he's considering this west. There seems to be a fence around this whole area. That could be new, though. Yeah, but right there. You're in the desert. And this road leads pretty much to where his vehicle was. Right there. All right. After speaking to Caitlin, I later received notification via evidence.com that Caitlin uploaded 4 images. Upon review of them, it appeared that they were screenshots taken from a phone, which appears to show text messages communicated between her and Daniel. The following are the text messages between Caitlin and Daniel and the dates and times for them. Okay, Sunday, June 13th at 2:29 a.m. Caitlin says, she sends a podcast.apple.com. Daniel says, hey, I accidentally left my canopy outside your house. Is it still there? If so, is it okay if I pick it up? So I don't know what a canopy is. I mean, I know what a canopy is, but why would he have a canopy? Is this like something he put the food in? Keep it warm or something? Monday, and that was Monday, June 14th. This is also June 14th. Also, the podcast was great. Tuesday, June 15th. And he went missing on the 23rd. Caitlin, yes, you can pick it up whenever. Tuesday, June 15th at 8:30 p.m. Daniel, thanks. How do I get there again? I can come now or tomorrow afternoon to grab it. Wednesday, June 16th, 2:06 p.m. Caitlin, hi, I saw you on the camera. I'm in Flagstaff and will be home later tonight. If you want, I can put it out front by the chairs before I head out for work tomorrow morning. Daniel sends a red colored heart emoji. And shortly after that, later in the day, he says, I'm sorry. Caitlin, please stop showing up unannounced. Daniel, okay, I won't ever again. Caitlin, thanks. And I'm looking right now and I don't see the canopy in the garage. Daniel, don't worry about it. I already have it. Caitlin, I'm confused. Daniel, I did grab it yesterday. I just wanted to tell you I'm sorry for disappearing the other day. At the end of the sentence of this message, Daniel sends a sad face emoji. I couldn't stop thinking about you, he said. Saturday, 12:44 p.m. Saturday, 12:44 p.m. Daniel, can we hang out? Caitlin, at 1:48 p.m. I'm not home. Daniel, okay. Sunday at 12:14 a.m. Daniel says, I love you. At 8:28 a.m. Daniel, are you home today? Sunday at 9:36 a.m. Caitlin, honestly, you showing up at my house unannounced made me extremely uncomfortable. I will not be home today, but I don't see us hanging out anytime soon. Daniel says, okay. But do you have any doubt? Either way, I'll have to be okay with your answer. Monday, 11:44 a.m. How are you feeling? That's from Daniel. Monday at 3:46 p.m. from Daniel. I'm outside of your place. Caitlin, question mark, question mark. Please stop doing that. I'm not even home. This is not okay. Daniel says, I guess it's not. Caitlin, not you, guess. I've told you it is not okay and to not come to my home unannounced. Daniel, are you okay with me? Caitlin, no. Caitlin, this isn't normal nor acceptable. Daniel, what is normal? Caitlin, making plans before showing up at someone's home, and if someone has expressed that you've made them uncomfortable, you need to back off. Daniel says, do you hate me? Caitlin, I don't hate you, but please leave me alone. Monday at 8:46 p.m. Daniel, you're right. You are right. Tuesday, 3:07 p.m. Daniel says, the world can get better, but I'll have to take all the time I can, or we can. Whatever to name it. I'll either see you again or never see you again. So I don't know what that's all about. Seems a little out of the normal, out of the ordinary. I doubt it. V. Caitlin is like somebody very random in Daniel's life. He may have been going through something, and them inviting him in and being nice to him might have been something he needed at the time, and now he doesn't want to let it go. Sounds like a lot of bipolar, maybe some insecurities or something, loneliness. He might have been suffering, but I'm not sure. I am not sure. It's kind of pointing towards that he might have been having some inner conflict. Thank you, Carrie. Shout out to Phony Pin, Carrie, and Aquarian for becoming a member of the Sleuth Crew. Thank you guys for supporting my channel. Canopy for shade cover, probably for job sites. Yeah, but why would he have it out? When I think of a canopy, that's what I think of. You pull it out of the case and then you set it up, you stretch it out, you adjust it, and then you secure it down to the ground. Boom, you have a canopy. But why is his canopy there? If all he's there to do is deliver food, like Grubhub, and then he's invited in, why is the canopy out? To me, that's an old trick. That's an old player's trick. If things aren't going so well, but you still like this person, you'll leave your wallet or you'll leave your jacket or something. Something that causes you to go back. Unless there's another explanation, I'm not sure. Why is the canopy there? Yeah, it wasn't normal. So you're saying there's a chance. Yeah, I'm getting the idea he was going through something. And the one person that was recently nice to him, he was hoping that, something might have sparked up. I'm sensing a lot of loneliness there. Yep, leave something behind, come back, agreed. Hey, I left my canopy there. That'll give me an excuse to come talk to you again. Very smooth. Or creepy, depending on how you play it. Yeah, it's like, you were just nice to me the other day. Why can't we hang out? Like, I don't understand. It's just like I'm going to be nice to you because you're missing an arm. It's like, I don't know why people do that. Like, be nice because you're nice. I was just showing you sympathy. Like, don't do that. He's a big kid. He can handle. He's been living with one arm his whole life. He doesn't need sympathy. I think that could get frustrating. I think it could. Yeah, he might be. A lot of times, people that are suffering from depression are really hard on themselves. You know, a lot of judgment. Okay, let's go here to Tempe PD sent out to Daniel's home. On June 24th, this would be the day after he was reported missing. I had Buckeye PD dispatch contact Tempe PD and requested they check Daniel's home for him and or his vehicle. Now remember, they didn't find his vehicle for some time. I later received information from Buckeye PD dispatch that Tempe PD went out to the home but were unable to make contact with anyone there. Additionally, they were unable to locate Daniel's vehicle. Dispatch reported the Tempe officer advised they could see about 80% of the interior of Daniel's home via a window, but that they couldn't see any signs of anyone being home. Tempe PD ultimately had no other information to provide. Contact with Luke Joseph, last name redacted. At the later end of my shift, I received contact from Davisha by phone. Davisha said she was able to obtain information from former colleague, roommate. I think Davisha is her Daniel's sister. Davisha is Daniel's sister. Daniel's colleague, college roommate of Daniel's named Marcus, that one of Daniel's friends named Luke had recently flown into Arizona to see Daniel. Davisha said she obtained a phone number for Luke, which she provided to me. I asked Davisha if Marcus had any further information regarding Daniel's whereabouts or if he had heard from Daniel. Davisha said Marcus did not know where Daniel was and had not heard from him. Davisha ultimately had no further information to report, so we ended our conversation. After obtaining this information from Davisha, I called Luke. By phone, Luke answered the call and fully identified himself as Luke Joseph Greco. Date of birth, October 3rd, 1996. I informed Luke who I was and that I was calling him in reference to Daniel being a missing person. Then I informed Luke of this, and he said he was not aware that Daniel went missing. I asked Luke if he was with Daniel or if he knew where Daniel was at. Luke said he was not with Daniel and that he didn't know where he was at. Luke explained that he had flown into Arizona to visit Daniel over the past weekend and stayed with Daniel at his home. Luke said on June 20th, 2021, he flew back to New York where he lives. I asked Luke when was the last time he had heard from Daniel. Luke said on June 22nd, around evening time, he sent Daniel a message on Instagram and Daniel liked his message. I talked to Luke about the allegations of Daniel reportedly acting odd or talking in an abnormal way. I asked Luke if he observed Daniel do or say anything that was abnormal to him. Luke said he didn't observe any odd actions or statements from Daniel. I asked Luke if Daniel had ever made any direct or vague statements or if Daniel made any actions that suggested he, Daniel, was going to or wanted to hurt himself. Luke said that he has never heard Daniel say or do anything before like that. However, Luke said he does recall Daniel telling him that he was glad he was in town to visit because he had been feeling depressed lately. Luke said Daniel said this to him while they were at a bar. Luke advised Daniel, however, didn't tell him what he was depressed about or why. Yeah, his timeline has been verified. He was home in New York before Daniel went missing. Let's see. This one kind of skips. Okay, contact with friend Luke. I called and spoke with Luke, whom officers had already contacted previously. Luke was visiting Daniel until June 20th, 2021. Luke was visiting because he is thinking about moving out to Phoenix. The post on Facebook was at the bar and had him in it, and he was referring to the Suns in 4 related to the Phoenix Suns basketball playoffs. And he was not aware of Daniel planning to leave anywhere. Luke did not mention any behavior that seemed unusual. Contact with friend Ruben. I called Ruben, and he advised he spoke with Daniel on June 22nd, the day before he went missing, at about 15:25 Florida time, so 7:25. And they spoke about 5 minutes. He said he was asking Daniel about vacation spots in Arizona and California, but Daniel seemed down and like something was on his mind. Ruben said the conversation was short and he did not know what was wrong. Daniel did not make any statements about hurting himself, but Ruben said that Daniel just seemed off. Ruben said Daniel does not like to hike and explore, and it is not unusual. Does like to hike and explore, and it is not unusual for him to take off and explore, but it is unusual for him to not stay in contact, and everyone is concerned for him. Ruben did not have any additional information to add. Updated T-Mobile data. On June 27th, 2021, I received updated records from T-Mobile. The records only show 5 outgoing text messages before Daniel went missing. The records only show that a message was sent, but do not reveal the content of the message or call. The last text at 8:10 on 6/23 to coworker Kenneth, who was the last person to see Daniel. A text to Caitlin at 15:07 was noted by Officer Haley and confirmed time 15:07. Officer Haley's report quoted the last text Daniel sent to Caitlin on 6/22/2021. And this is what it was. The world can get better, but I'll have to take all the time I can or we can, whatever to name it. I'll either see you again or never see you again. To name it, name what? Sounds a little delusional there. Daniel was an odd sort. Maybe didn't feel like he fit in anywhere. He was also a stalker, not trying to be mean, but the canopy was left so he could come back. Yeah, that was definitely a move. A good move, too, if you would have played it right. It's hard to play your moves when you're suffering from some mental health issues and depression. This was the contact with apartment manager. We'll skip that. Let's see. Oh, no. No, we need to read that. Sorry. All right. Contact with apartment manager. On July 6th, 2021. So this is sometime after he's been missing. Detective Favila and I made contact with Tiffany, who is the manager at Daniel's apartment complex. I filled her in with some of the basic information about Daniel's disappearance. Tiffany stated that Daniel's family had been there, but she was not able to provide entry to his apartment to them. She said that Buckeye Police Department had sent Tempe police officers out to check his apartment when Daniel went missing, but they did not make entry. Only knocked on the door and received no answer. She advised that Daniel's employer paid his check or paid his rent this month. That was nice. So he goes missing and his employers paid his rent. That's how it should be, guys. Tiffany allowed us to enter the apartment to perform a welfare check. Daniel was not located in the apartment. The common areas of the apartment appeared to be well kept and clean, and no valuables appeared to be missing. There was no indication of foul play, and no indication that Daniel had packed and planned a trip. Daniel did not appear to take his computers or valuable items. Daniel's bedroom was messy with clothes and miscellaneous items on the floor. I also observed that what appeared to be marijuana blunts left on the counters and in various places in the apartment. Detectives exited the apartment and Tiffany secured the doors and windows. Okay, let's see. Bank information. On July 15th, 2021, I spoke with David Robinson by phone. He advised that Daniel's brother was able to access Daniel's bank account and noted a purchase on 6/23/2021, which would be the day he went missing, at a Shell service station in Buckeye. David sent me a screenshot, but it did not provide time and specific location information. There are 3 Shell stations in Buckeye, one which is close to the job site. I reached out to the Shell station in Buckeye, one of which is close to the job site. Reached out to David again on July 16th, 2021 to see if he was able to get additional details so that I could send an officer to secure video. He advised he was waiting on his other son to send the information, which he would send within a few hours. July 18th, I received a message from David with the screenshots of Daniel's and blank accounts. Some of this is redacted, so it's kind of hard. Among the charges, the following may be of value. Those were all redacted. It was later learned that Daniel told his sister Davisha that he went to Waffle House on 6/22/2021, which may be the actual date of this charge. On July 19th, 2021, now this is when they find Daniel's vehicle. Daniel's vehicle is located July 19th, 2021 at about 8:54. A local rancher and landowner in Buckeye contacted Buckeye Police to advise that he located a Jeep Renegade, which he believed to belong to the missing Daniel, gave the license plate, and advised that there was no redacted vehicle. I don't know why they redacted that. I advised dispatch to send a beat officer to the area and meet with the reporting party and stand by for detectives. Sergeant Hanneman and I then coordinated additional resources to include off-highway vehicles and mobile command trailer. I then responded to the area and met with Blank and his partner Shannon. We met off of Sun Valley Parkway between mile 113 and mile marker 114 on the west side of the road. We then took the dirt road to the power line road, which was marked with an orange flag. So I think this is the flag they're referring to. And power line road is down here where I said they probably came out of. I think right here, because this is a substation right here. And then you have the power lines that kind of go out this way. So, yep, he must have came out right here and then maybe entered into the wash right there. All of the interior airbags. Wait, hold on. Let me go back. Let's see. The vehicle had significant damage and appeared to have had a front impact with the dirt and rolled before resting on the passenger side. One piece of the Jeep's black removable roof was on the ground, partially wedged. The driver's front window was shattered, and I located glass on the ground consistent with the Jeep rolling. One time. There was also substantial damage to the lower front end and the damage to the top of the windshield and roof. All of the interior airbags appeared to have been deployed. I observed AP jeans inside out, 2 brown work-type boots, a faded orange vest with the company logo, a t-shirt, and 2 socks, which were inside out. I would see the outline of what appeared to be a wallet, in the pocket of the jeans. I walked the same path to the vehicle which Redacted had walked and did not observe any persons inside the vehicle. The vehicle relatively clean on the outside, but there had been 3 or more big rains in this area since Daniel went missing. There was evidence of rain damage on the inside of the Jeep and a hard hat inside filled with rainwater. I located Daniel's Samsung Galaxy S10 cell phone, the vehicle and apartment keys, and a backpack with Daniel's work laptop and other documents inside. There were also other miscellaneous items inside the car like clothing, a basketball, unopened water bottles, and other items. I did not observe any blood or other evidence of any injury despite the substantial damage to the vehicle. I checked the area and did not observe any indication that Daniel spent a considerable amount of time at the vehicle. There were no empty water bottles or other items other than Daniel's clothing in the area. There were no tracks immediately surrounding the vehicle that weren't made by the caller or detectives. I checked the top of the hill to the east of the vehicle and located some tracks that ran to the east and appeared to have been rained on since they were left. So tracks that ran to the east. All right, let's take a look at that. So if there's tracks that are going to the east, that's going back to where he knows. So that seems normal, right? You get in an accident, you start walking back to the main road or towards your job site, which really isn't that far. We're talking a little over 2 miles. And you should be able to see this area that you're obviously familiar with from the crash site. So if they have tracks leading east, that's going right where he should be going. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it is a little suspicious that he gets a call from one of his employers or his boss, I think it was, telling him, hey, we're going to have some downtime. Sorry about that. You're going to kind of just be stuck out there. And then somebody that doesn't even work for his company shows up. Somebody that they're partnered with, never worked with Daniel. And then all of a sudden he ends up going missing. I don't know. I think they should give that guy a lie detector test. In my opinion. Well, we have 1 million documents to go over, but we are out of time. So we're going to spend the next 10 minutes talking about the case and what you guys think about the information that was provided. Thank you, V. Thank you, Beach Ferry. Oh, I think I have another timeline video that was put out by his father on his Twitter. Let's watch that. We'll stop and go on this one because it's kind of quick and it's really just a bunch of screenshots. All right. Daniel left the first well site around 7 a.m. He was headed to Sun Valley Parkway to meet Ken. Now, Ken is a guy that he didn't work with before. Doesn't work for his company, works for a different company that's partnered with his company.
No one is available to take your call. Please leave a message.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. These are the voicemails. Yeah, this is very important. I'm glad I remembered to play this. So we're going to hear all the voicemails that were left on Daniel's phone. 7:31 a.m., Daniel received a missed call from Ken. Now all my notes are like in disarray. I'll put these over there out of the way. All right, let's listen to this voicemail. Now, Ken is the guy that he was working with that day.
Hey, Daniel, this is Ken with Weber Water Resources. I'm out here at Trillium off of Sun Valley Parkway. I'm waiting on fuel. I think it's going to be a while. He was all the way over at Fort McDowell here at 6 o'clock this morning. So I just wanted to give you a heads up. It's, I don't want you to come all the way out here and just sit and wait. But I was going to give you a heads up when you're about an hour away from being ready to go and stuff. But if you can, just give me a call when you get a chance.
"9:28 a.m. Daniel called Ken. Did Daniel even make it to the well site? According to the law enforcement and Ken, reports say Daniel left around 9:15 a.m. Never to be heard from again." Timeline: 7:34 a.m. Daniel called Ken. 8:08 Ken called Daniel. 8:10 a.m. Daniel texts Ken for directions. 8:13 a.m. Daniel called Ken. Missed call from Steve. 8:35 a.m. Daniel called Steve. 9:28 a.m. Daniel called Ken. A.m. missed call from Steve. 10:44 to 11:10 text and missed calls from Matrix workers. 11:35 missed call and voicemail from Steve.
No one is available to take your call. Please leave a message.
Hey, Daniel, Steve. Hey, give me a call, please. Thank you.
No one is available to take your call. Please leave a message.
Hey, Daniel, this is Roger. I know that work is trying to get hold of you, but I'm less concerned about them than I am about you. Give me a call back. Let me know what's going on. I need to pick up somewhere or whatever. Just give me a holler. I'll make sure you're okay. So I'll talk to you later. Thanks.
Wait, what'd that say? Buckeye PD originally report says that Daniel arrived at the well site at 9 a.m. They later changed the report to say 9:30. I think we can, Hiawatha. I think we can. We just need help finding a good starting point, where we think we should start. It's only taken 3 days to get 25% of the drone funds. We'll be in the air probably before the end of this month. So I'll go ahead and put that up there for you guys. If you want to participate, this will be the first case that we work on. We're going to go right out there. And we'll go out there a few days in a row and we'll cover a lot of land. All right, there it is. Hit that Cash App or the Zelle, sleuthintuition@gmail.com under Patrick Vallejos. If you guys want to take part in this program here. Now, what we needed, we went searching for Chelsea Grimm. We went out to the high northern desert, and the wind is just awful. I have a cheap drone, and we tried to get it in the air, but I couldn't even get it off the ground. It's just a piece of shit anyway. Now, this is the real deal here. We'll have over 30 minutes of flight time. We can cover over 3 miles in the air with crystal clear video. Not only that, we can live stream in 4K, which is crazy. But if you want to participate, there you go. Shout out to everybody who has already donated. Thank you so much. No, hi, well, contact Buckeye PD and maybe the investigator for the info on location, maybe. Yeah, we're going to come up with a plan. Thank you, Cindy. Good to see you as always. All right, guys, that's going to do it. Thank you so much for catching the live stream. If you can, share this. We have a lot of documents that we still haven't talked about and information, so we'll probably be doing a part 2. And like I said, as soon as we get that drone and we're sky high and we're up in the air, this will be the first case that we try to tackle. It's right here in my backyard. We can spend a few days out here and we'll get a lot of footage and we'll spend some time together analyzing it. So I'll see you guys again very soon. Peace.